Everybody, thanks for watching. So yeah, real quick, guys, apologies for the delay. My account was hacked again, and it's been an ongoing thing. My Gmail was hacked that is attached to this YouTube channel, which hinders a lot of other things business-wise. Apologies as well to the society. You guys go ahead and check the app for the new calendar, but good to go, as you guys can see. We'll get into it later on, but I want to get into this video. This is a very important video, very deep video to answer a lot of questions. And I usually save something like this for like a DVD or something like that, for, one of my digital downloads or what have you. But I'm going to put this out here on YouTube and hope that it stays up. But it's a deep video. It's going to answer a lot of questions, and I really want you guys to look at things alternatively, because they're going to start to come up, and it's going to give you more of an understanding about yourself and why people use certain words and say certain things in the context of religion. But yeah, let's get right into this video. So now, understand, people, what you are, right, in truth, because clearly, we are more than just these physical bodies. We are energy. We are energy and consciousness. This is what you have to understand, what you really are. There is nothing we have seen, because they don't want you to understand this, to illustrate or to depict or show us and tell us what we actually are. And far as energy and consciousness, there's nothing comparable to that powerful thing, right? So we go by what we know, and that's our bodies. And we believe we are our bodies, and we are actually energy and consciousness that's inhabiting a body, right? And experiencing this physical world within this body. But in truth, we are the dualistic energy of energy and consciousness, this dualistic energy of masculine, feminine energy. And that's what the Bible is giving you. And that's what the Bible is telling you when you begin to understand, right? So talk about this last video, touched on this a few times, and it gets deeper though. It's a lot more to understand. But the basic part that you have to grasp is knowing what you really are, right? So if you take, computer, a car, any type of electronic, right? It's nothing without energy, right? It's nothing without power. It doesn't matter, how much time and effort planning goes into, the design of a phone or any electronic, right? The design is important because that's what's going to appeal to our physical self, right? How it looks, right? But none of it matters, man. It don't matter how much time went into designing a car or, the phone or what have you, all the components and everything. None of it matters without energy, without electricity, without power, right? And it's the same for us, right? We make up the same components that go into making a computer, building a car, making a radio, laptop, phone, whatever it is. We are the same thing. We are nothing without our energy and our consciousness, right? So whether you spend 10 years planning something and designing something that needs power, it don't matter. It's nothing without that power. It's just sitting there. It's dead. You got TVs in your house. You have electronics all over the place. You run out of power. Guess what? You have nothing. You have a paperweight. It doesn't mean anything without the energy. So the tissue in our body, every cell, molecule, and atom is comprised of energy, right? And our bodies use, a chemical process to where we take the chemical energy that's in food and we, basically turn it into ADP. It's going to help power the body, right? Adenosine triphosphate, right? And that energy basically acts as a current that's going to, power all of our cellular processes in the body, right? So you begin to understand things like this and just how our body is this factory, which you guys heard all this before. And a lot of people just can't put it, together that, just like when you plug your toaster or microwave into the wall, there's so much that's happening with the components within these electronics, right, that allow them to work. And it would be the same almost as if, plugging in a coffee maker and the process that happens when you put the water in to heat the water up and everything like that. It's a process that makes it work, right? It's the same with us. We have this process to where we take the chemical energy in food, burn it, and then we basically use it to power us. And that's going to basically keep the body, the machine that is our body, going. But It don't matter if you don't plug the toaster in the wall, right? It doesn't matter if you don't plug the microwave in the wall, right? All that stuff it was built to do makes no sense without the power, right? And that is us. And we have to understand that this energy that we use to power our electronics is the same energy that powers us, right? The difference is we are this energy and consciousness, and the consciousness is what really, puts us on a different level and scale. Because of course, a toaster has energy, it's energy running through our homes, what have you, but it's unaware, right? It's unaware. It has a program it follows. So this process of burning, taking the chemical energy in food for our body. And, if we're constantly working out, we're constantly burning that energy, right? And we release it from our bodies in a form of heat, right? So we have this process from the food, and we eating food. Then you go out about your day, you're working and what have you, and you're burning. It's the factories going on. You're burning that food and you're creating energy for yourself. It's stored energy. And, we run, we sweat, you run, you get real hot. So this is a chemical process. This is an energy burning process that our bodies produce to where it's releasing this energy. And if you're in a room with a bunch of people, the room gets hotter. We have names for that. So many black people in the room. It's hot as shit in here. And this is what's taking place, right? So I want you guys to understand that the body is this, this machine. And it's an amazing thing. And it's something the ancient Egyptians really got into, because they began to break down and understand how amazing the body was. And this is why I always talk about them. And you guys see some of my previous videos when I'm giving you their understanding of the body, and they give it to you, to us as well. But the way they looked at it, they marveled at it. And it's as if they experienced a different body. But you have to look at this process. And I'm saying this because I want you guys to understand the importance of this energy. So you got to understand what the Bible is trying to teach you, that you are God, right? You are God's. And the Bible in Genesis is giving you this understanding. I broke this stuff down. We're going to get into it a little bit here. But you have to think about the power part of it. You are this powerful energy and consciousness, right? Until you enter the body. So you are God then. But when you enter the body, you become Jesus, Christ consciousness, right? So no man can get to the Father but by me. And it's like you take a piece of yourself in order for you to experience the physical world. And this is what Jesus is representing you, right? So you begin to understand, like, okay, I'm this power. Then when I come into the physical world, I'm this physical being, but I'm still this power, right? And it gets you into the whole conundrum of why, in Catholicism and some Christian beliefs, they say Jesus and God is one and the same. And then some believe that Jesus and God are completely separate beings. But when you begin to understand what it's really talking about, you understand that they're basically one and the same. But in this instance, you have God, the Father, right? The all-powerful God. And you have Jesus in the physical form that is not as powerful, of course, or not attached to the Father, but attached to the Father, when you understand. But this is what they're trying to say to you and explain. So once we enter into these bodies, we are bound by our DNA. Our parents are responsible for how we're going to develop, right? And how you are now, how you will be, is up to your DNA, your cells. And we know that our DNA contains genetic information that is organized into genes, right? And bundled into chromosomes that's in the nucleus of a cell, right? So DNA into genes, right? Genesis, right? So Genesis, as I broke down in the previous video, is giving you that understanding of, as I broke down and showed you guys, the waters. It's talking about the woman's womb. Genesis is giving you the woman's womb and being born and what have you. And that zinc melanin spark, that melanin zinc explosion that happens when the sperm meets the egg, right? So it's giving you this understanding that you have this power that exists. Before we enter the physical form, it's this energy and consciousness, right? Once we enter into the body as energetic, right? This energetic beings, and we become this material. In order to become what we are today, this creation has to happen, right? That's why they call it the creation story. It's the creation of us. And once this spark happens and the power that is contained within the egg and the sperm meets, then we begin this whole building block, this whole creation of life. So we are made up of DNA. That DNA contains genetic information, what have you, that lives in the nucleus of our cells. And it's just like any type of electronic component, the car I'm sitting in or what have you, our phones, anything, it has, codes. It's been coded to be exactly what it is, to function the way that it functions, right? You have to program these things to do what they're doing. It's the same with us, right? Our bodies, as we are right now, already contains the code that we would need if we have an offspring to do the same process over again, right? To repeat the process. Whoever made us was smart in that design to where they coded us in this way so we can keep producing, and it'll be a lot easier for us to come into this situation that we are in now as far as being grown, right? So we are nothing without the power though, right? So all the codes, everything that I'm talking about as far as our genetic information and all of the information that exists within our DNA and our cells, what have you, is nothing without the power, without the energy, without the consciousness. So no matter what the phone, computer, electronic equipment is, once you plug it in, it can only do what it is programmed to do, right? Your phone can only do what it has been programmed and built to do. All of our electronics have been built to function a certain way. The difference in us is, we are bound by our DNA or what have you, but we have the ability to become self-aware, to learn and grow, right? That's what consciousness is about. And you have to understand how to separate the two. The energy that's in the wall is not the same energy that's in you, right? There's a conscious energy within us that comes from the consciousness versus the energy that's in the wall. But you also have to understand the programming as well, because once the energy comes into the product, the electronic, that energy is stored. It is being used to power that device. And the energy can do nothing but what that device is programmed to do. Now, that energy goes back to a source, right? Same as us, once we enter into these bodies, we can only do what the DNA is programmed for us to do. Same thing. Again, the only difference is we can become self-aware. We can, because of consciousness, understand what we are and grow. We can obtain information and learn about our surroundings and grow outside of what we are in physically, right? A toaster can't do that. A phone can't do that. That energy is bound by the electronic, by the programming. We are not bound by the programming. And then you begin to understand and look at the world differently when you understand this. And I talked about this before. Why is our consciousness so different from everything else? We don't have the consciousness of a gnat, a fly, a grasshopper. We don't have the consciousness of a chimp, a bear, a tiger, a wolf, or what have you. Our consciousness is on a deeper, higher level because we can understand so much, right? So when you begin to look at this and see that it's something different to us that makes us especially unique. And that energy, there has to be something more to it. And I don't want you guys to come away with that understanding that I see that's out there. And people put out a lot of information. It's just about, we're this energy. And consciousness is very important to understand because it is the God that the Bible was speaking of, right? So energy and consciousness, right? And this energy is just what consciousness is going to use to touch this physical and animate it, right? To make it move, just like the energy that's powering, a radio, what have you. So this all powerful consciousness and energy that becomes bound by the material world, right? And we have to understand the dualistic nature of that and of us. And I always try to get into this with you guys. And, DNA it contains this genetic information. And that genetic information is contained, again, within the sperm and within the egg. So the sperm carries a half a chromosome and the egg carries a half a chromosome. Together, once they fuse and we have this zinc melanin explosion, we create the first cell, which we know is called the zygote, right? So the male carries, contains 23 chromosomes, the female 23 chromosomes, and we put them together, we get 46 chromosomes, right? And this is just the building block of us. And you begin to start understanding these numbers and what all this stuff means and the creation and generation of us. That's why I call it Genesis. Gene. It's about genes, genetics, right? And we'll get into the ISIS part another time. It's more to that. But when I broke this down in that last video about, Genesis, understanding what Genesis is about and how it's talking about the female womb and what have you, this is what it's alluding to even more so. That it's this process that happens in the building of us, right? The beginning, Genesis, the genes that is going to make us into what we are. Everything that is profound in the book of Genesis, everything that it's talking about has to do with the body, right? The consciousness, the energy, and the body. That's what it's giving you. It's giving you the brain. It's giving you so much. It is giving us. And you have to begin to understand and know how to separate what it's talking about from what you're being taught in church. You also have to understand how important it is to be aware of who you're having kids with. Because we're talking about birth and being born and creating children, creating people. And it's important to know who you're with. And women have to be especially cautious because you guys carry around the DNA of so many men. They knew exactly what they was doing when they made thoughts. When they put this whole generation on this whole sexual crash course of bullshit to destroy the black family, right? To destroy generations of children, families. They knew what they was doing. They understood, as I broke this down before, about the demon child or the bastard child and what that really means. It's a big deal, right? So when you look at Asian culture, Indian culture, and why they have arranged marriages, why that's important. Because the person who you're going to mate with, their genetics has to be right. Because we're talking about creating gods here, right? And like you're creating demons, devils, you're fucking up. It's really important. So in these cultures, they're like, why would I want somebody who is not successful or represents this to be married within my bloodline, within my family? I don't want that in my bloodline because I'm going to have to come back in this bloodline and I don't want to be a part of that. So they understood that it's important to marry prominence, to marry somebody with a good standing or what have you. But these generations have been set up to be exactly what they have become because some women just say it's just sex. It's just sex. And you have an unprotected sex with multiple men and you're putting all this DNA within you. And then a baby is born and you don't even realize that a lot of the genetics from that child is not even from the biological father. It's a bunch of different men who is contributing to the genetics of that child and the traits, the characteristics that child is going to develop. Even some of the, diseases or problems, what have you, probably won't even come from the father. They come from one of the other men that you slept with that left DNA inside you. So it's important. And it's one of the things you got to learn as women that, one, if you're going to be a hoe, at least be a hoe that protect herself. Don't be out here creating demon child and spreading all this evil out here. At least, make the guy strap up so you don't have all this DNA inside you. It's just crazy when you really understand the spiritual part of it, as well as the physical. And I broke it down before about the demon child and how, having a child that's born through love, which is what the Bible tells you. You find somebody, you fall in love, you get married, you have kids. That child is, born of love, not lust. These demons, so-called demon childs, they call them, is born of lust. And that woman, because she's loose and has so much DNA in there, that person can have so many genetic problems or emotional, spiritual problems, right? And now you're breeding it and bringing it into this child, and this child is born with, don't even know what's going on. You can't connect with the child. The father can't connect with his son. The mom can't connect with son or daughter. And it's just, everything's off because that bond that should have been created by just you two is interrupted with the genetics of other men. And it's a fucked up thing because a lot of women don't understand this because you guys are so caught up in the culture and you think it's cool to be a thought. You think it's cool to sleep with 2 men at one time and 3 men, unprotected. And it's just nuts. And it has so many physical and spiritual ramifications that you guys have no clue about. And the Bible is actually talking about all of them and giving you the reasons why you shouldn't do these things. And, we looked at it growing up and it's like, oh, you just corny. You soft or you weird or you scared, whatever the situation may be. We will always shun people that wasn't into, open sexuality or, oh, you wear condoms. I can't wear condoms. I don't feel the same or what have you. But if you're a hoe, you should probably wear condoms. So I'm gonna keep it real. And the whole thing, saving yourself for marriage and all that. And it's the reason why that existed. And it's the reason why condoms was invented, so they're not going to reveal to you the spiritual, physical ramifications of this unprotected sex that you're having and how it can be detrimental to your child's future and yours as well. Instead, they're going to say, we're going to make condoms, strap on, protect yourself. And, it's just so many other reasons why as well. But I want you guys to understand this and be aware, especially you women, because men, we don't have that problem. It's, you can catch a disease from a woman, but that'll be it. That disease, once you get it cured or what have you, it's not something you can pass down genetically to the child. A man is just, if he's clean, he's healthy. A woman, you are pure. And it's one of the reasons why you're put up on this high place as a woman, because you contain souls, right? You contain souls. You contain human beings. You are going to be responsible for the output that comes into this world. It is up to you to be responsible to know what you're doing with yourself and what you're putting out here. Plain and simple, because some people are going to have to come back. So let's go back to Genesis, right? And understand, again, it's giving you the body. That's what it's talking about. It's giving you the body. It's giving you genetics, genes. And of course, you're going to have Christians that's going to say, no, it's talking about God and God's power and the creation of the universe and so on and so forth. And the story itself is telling you that it's not, right? The story itself should give you cause for alarm as far as what you have been told about the biblical God, right? Because one, if God is all knowing, right? God knows all, right? It's perfect. He didn't know the serpent was even in the garden. He didn't even know where Adam was when he came to, look in on him. He said, where is this guy? Right? He didn't know. He didn't know the serpent was there tempting Eve. He didn't know that Satan and the angels were planning a rebellion. So it's trying to give you an understanding as well that, this God is not what you think it is. And obviously it's not, because, it's not living up to what your preacher told you he was. So when you begin to understand, it's talking about you. It's giving you an understanding of you and, what you are and how these things are pertaining to you in the body and genetics, what have you, right? This is what Genesis is talking about. So there's no way God would create us, right, with the ability to sin. If it's all about sin, don't sin, listen, obey. Why would you create something to be disobedient, right? Why would you create something with the power, the capacity to disobey? If I don't like onions, I'm not going to make a dish that contains onions, that I got to put onions in it, because I don't like onions, right? So I can't sit there and then make the food and put onions in it and then say, I don't like onions. Man, why is onions in this thing? You put them in there, right? So God is clearly, why would you create man with the ability to disobey? And that's exactly what happened in the garden. There was disobedience, right? So what Genesis is trying to tell you is you must get the pineal, right? So the serpent is tempting Eve to eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? That fruit is the pineal gland, plain and simple. The tree represents your spine, right? And your brain is basically on the stem, right? Brain stem, you get it? That's why it's set up like a tree. It's on the stem, and the fruit is on the tree or what have you. The leaves, the branches, all that it's giving you has to do with your spine and your brain. That fruit that Eve eats off is the pineal gland. That's what it's talking about. This is what you must get, right? So the Bible is telling you the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You eat off the fruit or what have you. And what did Jacob talk about? Book of Genesis 32:30. He said, Jacob called the name of the place Pineal. For I have seen God face to face and my life is preserved, right? And the serpent said in Genesis 3:5, in the day ye eat thereof, your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as God, knowing good and evil. And as I broke down in the Saturn and Satan series, I mean, that's it right there, right? What else do we need to read about? We need to figure out how to get this tree, figure out what it's talking about. And the rest of the book is basically dedicated to giving you that understanding all the way up to Revelations, which we'll get into in a second. But that's what's next, right? So it's giving you this creation story of you, right? And what you need to do. This is the beginning of life. You are born, you are here. Now you must what? You must get this knowledge. You get this knowledge, and then everything else that happens, you're going to face demons and all kinds of obstacles and greed and lust. The journey is going to be unbelievably crazy. But if you obey the commandments of God, you will get the keys to the kingdom. And it's giving you this understanding of self, because the demon, the only thing that's going to be in your way is you and your choices, right? So it's giving you this understanding. Genesis, get the fruit. Eat off the tree, right? The tree of knowledge. So the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And then, of course, the serpent says in Genesis 3:22, well, God says, I should say, Man is become as one of us to know good and evil. It says, least he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. And here's the tree of life. It's the Kabbalah tree. You guys seen this so many times. It represents us, spiritual. It represents the body, right? It represents dimensions. It represents many paths of existence, right? It represents many stages of existence, right? So the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you need that. You need the tree of life, right? And the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right, is getting this knowledge. The knowledge to master the body, the mind, right? Consciousness, to understand what all this is about and what Jesus actually represents. You get this and you master these things, right? And then you begin to understand and unwrap the tree of life, right? The tree of life, or the Sephiroth, or the cosmic egg, they call it, or the cosmic tree, I should say. And it's so much wrapped up in it. So you get these things, and what they're going to do is unlock you. And that's what it's about, unlocking you. So tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which basically represents duality, right? Understanding the dualistic nature of you and the universe and everything that exists. It's all dualistic. The Bible is a dualistic book, and it's breaking this down. So the knowledge it'll give you, it'll help you understand you, right? The duality of you, what you really are, right? What the Egyptians say, man, know thyself, right? You, man, know thyself. You know what you are, know who you are, because what's going on here, right? We don't know. We don't know. We are this energy, consciousness, right? We come into these bodies, and then what are we? We're lost. We don't know. We don't know what it was before this. We don't know why we're here. We don't know what's going on, but we have the ability to find out. We have the ability to go through life and unlock these things, right? And it's much deeper than what I'm telling you guys here, because there's a lot more we can unlock besides the knowledge. The keys to the universe, the keys to us, lies within this body, and they're placed all over the world. So many movies that's giving you the representation of this. These keys are all over the place. They're Dragon Balls, right? And each one of these Dragon Balls that you find is going to unlock or get you closer to unlocking your full and true potential. Kundalini energy, the serpent dragon, right? Rising. You know, when Shenron comes out, or Shenlong, how you pronounce it, he comes out, this dragon, and he goes high in the sky. And you have the ability now to make your wish, and you can get whatever you want. And it's the same type of thing when you understand what Curatorium was trying to convey to us. So these keys are everywhere. They're all over the world, and you're going to go and travel, and you're going to go and learn and study. You're going to get these keys to yourself, and you're going to unlock these things. Experience is these keys. And you're going to go out and you're going to unlock these things, this knowledge, meditation, right? Understanding who you are and what this thing is all about. And you begin to unlock these things and open these doors, and, you get closer to what you need to know. So, man, know thyself, right? The journey is going to be hard, man. It's going to be tough, brutal, scary, absolutely terrifying, right? But you have to embark on it. We already have. We're here, right? And it's like chess, right? Or it's Luke Skywalker, right? Luke Skywalker battling Darth Vader, right? And like I said, we are what our parents make us, but we have the ability to choose. Luke chose the light side. He chose to become a Jedi. Anakin Skywalker, he chose the dark side, right? But Luke had the chance to choose the dark side as well. He chose the light side. He didn't choose the dark side. So it's just giving you understanding that you are not exactly what your parents made you to be. You can choose to be something else. Genetically, you are what you are. There's no way around that. You just is what it is. But you can change. You have the ability to change over time to be something different than what you was basically, created as far as coming from your parents. And that consciousness can be different. It is important to understand that deeper part of it in Star Wars, because it's giving you that. We're talking about different experiences, different energies, different consciousness, right? So you don't have to be the consciousness of the past, the past you or your parents or what have you. And we don't want that anyway, because we don't want that same experience. We want a different experience. That's why it's something, innately wrong about following in your parents' footsteps. That's why a lot of kids rebel against that. It seems old. And the only reason why some people could do it is if they can change things. They can make things their way. And then it makes the whole process, the whole experience a lot different. Because if you grew up with your parents, you've seen how they ran a family business. And you're used to that. You know that. I mean, you want to make money, of course. But once you got the keys to the kingdom, you want to change some things. You have some different ideas. You see how you can do things better, and you want a different experience, and you change things up. So you have the ability to choose. We're not bound, completely by what our parents were. And that's what another thing Star Wars is trying to tell you. So many good teachings in that whole series. Now, you guys don't have to believe in, nothing I'm saying. You don't got to believe in spiritual energy, soul, and afterlife, or what have you, consciousness. You don't got to believe in none of that. But you do have to accept and believe that everything that has a beginning has an end. Plain and simple. All of this stuff will end. It is not forever. You are, right? This is going to be over soon. Like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? And it's what the Bible is trying to convey and express to you. What are you doing, man? What are you doing with this life? You need to follow these commandments, follow these laws. We rebel because we think the Bible's talking about the Father. We're thinking about our teenage selves, rules and regulations or what have you, the physical. We don't want to do these things because we want to appease our physical form. We want to impress physical things and have physical things. But this stuff is not forever. It will end. What are you doing? What are you doing? Because, eternity is a long fucking time. Eternity is a long time. So you have the ability to, have a good life here in the physical. But if there is something more that is eternal after this, and you're not prepared for it to the point where you have to come back here and do it all over again, what seems to be more important to you, than cultivating that knowledge and getting this knowledge to keep it moving? And, that's what it's about. There's nothing you're doing now that can come close to what you need to be doing, right? Unless you are conscious and, you're doing what you're supposed to do. But there's nothing, right? So it's a game. It's a game. And what we think is serious and what we think means everything means absolutely nothing. The only thing that matters is you. Plain and simple. What you do with this life, the knowledge that you obtain, that's all it's about. Understanding who you are, understanding true spirituality, true energy and consciousness, and what you must do with them while you are here now, right? So you are Jesus. You got to understand that. You are this physical consciousness and energy that exists. And life is tough, man. Life is hard. It's going to be pain. It's going to be struggle. There's a lot you got to deal with. But the Bible is telling you what's going to happen, right? So, the Garden of Eden, we read in Genesis, and the serpent tells you straight up, dude, if you get this tree of knowledge of good and evil and this tree of life, that's it. You will be as God. You will be immortal. You will live forever, so on and so forth. So what is there besides that, right? So the Bible tells you that if you get these things, if you can survive the struggle, if you can, beat this game, what lies ahead, right? So Revelations 2:7 says, whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the church. That's your consciousness talking to your body. To the one who is victorious, I will give the right to eat from the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God. So everything that Adam and Eve went through and, getting kicked out and what the serpent was talking about, everything we read in the entire Bible leading up to Revelations. And it's saying right here, if you get this right, man, if you survive this, if you obey, I'm going to give you access to this tree of life, right? Because in order to get anywhere near it anyway, you would have had to have the knowledge. Remember, Adam and Eve ate of the tree of the knowledge. And what did it do? It gave them life. It set them free, right? And they were kicked out of the garden for having this knowledge. Now, all they needed was the tree of life. So now, this knowledge of getting evil gave you this life with understanding when you begin to understand. So now you have this Adam and Eve living aware, right? Because guess what? They was in the garden with God, dude. So it don't even matter. You coming from the Garden of Eden, where you was put there by God as the first people, and you were kicked out. And anybody who you would meet after that and tell a story to don't even understand what you're talking about. You're the only two who have ever experienced this and had some type of knowledge of what's before this physical body. That's it. Nobody else does. And then they have kids, and the entire Bible. He begot, she begot, they begot, what have you. All these people are born and created and so on and so forth, and have all these lives and wars and kids and so on and so forth. And, this message that is going out from the Israelites to the world, that is going and being preached, is to become closer to God, to follow his laws, follow his commandments, and be closer to God and what have you, to get the tree of life. Because you already have the knowledge of good and evil. Now you need the tree of life. And I just gave you what the tree of life is, right? So, all metaphorical, right? May sound spooky to some of you, but it's telling you what it is. And there's so much more to all of this, right? So much. And the Kabbalah, it's so much itself. And it's so much from that. But we're at this one small level in this physical form, and there's so much more to it. It's so much deeper than you guys could ever imagine, that I can ever convey to you guys. And I'm hoping that the people who understand keep on this journey. And this is the reason why I created the society, as I always say, because we're going to really be getting into this as we move closer and closer to, these people getting their new world order, because they're going to get it. And a lot's going to change coming up. And you guys got to be prepared. They have given you the worst energy possible, man. And that energy of, oh my God, man, you guys don't even know how bad that is, how it's going to fuck you up. And there's not going to be no remorse. There's not going to be no amount of I told you so that's going to fix this for you. You're going to be truly screwed. So they convey it to you in the most craziest way they can convey it to you. It's hell, right? To be burning in pain and anguish and torment for all time, right? So you have to think about that. How can I burn forever? Which we know that's not the case. It's telling you that there's going to be a time for you to get this. And then if you're talking about burning forever and being in the physical forever, that means forever. That means there's a possibility that you're going to miss the ability to escape, right? This time is going to happen. Forever is what? Forever is until the physical is destroyed. You understand what I'm saying? Because that time will come, and you're going to be incarnating until, let's just say, that time happens. Let's say the sun burns out and fucking earth explodes or what have you. Then finally you're free in fucking 10 billion years, what have you, from now, right? The end. And then some people will still say, oh well, it is what it is, right? And now you have these ignorant people who are here, and they're going to go through life ignorant, right? And they're going to procreate, they're going to have kids, and they're going to pass that ignorance down to their children, and so on and so forth. And, again, that child will hopefully break that cycle and have this knowledge and understand what it needs to do. But you're putting in your DNA and your cells this knowledge of bullshit to not understand what's really going on, and it's going to have a lasting effect. So yeah, man, it's a lot to this whole thing. It's so much more that I left out, but I wanted to get into this to really explain what you really are, and to truly understand that you have to understand yourself, right? It's a lot you have to understand, but we are more than just these physical bodies. We are this energy. We are this consciousness that exists. And there is so much more to us, and there's so much more to why we are here and what we're supposed to do. But we are programmed by these bodies. And once we're in these bodies, the world acts and it moves. These people who we call politicians, these powers that be and rulers, they are the controllers of the game. And everything that they do according to these laws. It's all dualistic. On one hand, you have the government giving out welfare to people. And then they're saying at the same time, shun welfare, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Welfare is hurting the people, right? On one hand, you have the government, seeing a kid to school. Kid must learn, right? On the other hand, go to school and they don't have adequate books and equipment, and they're talking about cutting funding from the school. But why do you want my kid to go? I might as well just homeschool my kid, right? Everything is dualistic. Countries we go to and we give billions of dollars a year, and the other countries we bomb the hell out of them, kill babies or what have you, right? What are we? It's dualistic. This government, these rulers, they have to do this. These are rulers of the game, and they are all in this dualistic understanding of reality and how it is, and you have to be as well. So, you look at it and you can see it clear as day after a while what's taking place here, and what this thing is about. And the biggest thing I can tell you guys is the knowledge is important. Understanding it all. People get tired of talking about the same shit and reading this and that, but you must know it. The knowledge is important. It's going to unlock doors. It's going to really put you in a much better place. And the spiritual part of it can only be obtained by having this knowledge. And with that knowledge, you could begin to come into the spiritual aspect of this, this existence. and go from there. But, this is real heavy. And studying all this and really getting into this over the years, man, there's so many different parts to it, especially when you get into the Kabbalah. There's so much to it, and there's so much more that you guys got to break down, because like you're always going to have these demons. It's just that's what it means to be human, and that's one of the things that we're going to get into down the line, because I want you to know, like, some bad things are good, right? Demons even have a dualistic property, if you can understand that, because some things that you might be scared of might be a healthy thing. Some addictions you might have might be a healthy thing. It might keep you from doing something else. And that could be something as innocent as, I'm hooked on video games. I don't want to go do this. I want to go play games. And, by you not being in the street and running around, being in the house playing games, you stay out of trouble. Shit like that, right? So you got to understand, man, everything is dualistic. Everything has a yin-yang property to it. You got to understand how to tap into both and how to make them beneficial to your life and what you're doing and what you want to do. Because it's only through that will you get to where you want to be. You got to understand it first, which means understanding you. And that's how we move forward, right? A lot more to get into. But yeah, take a time to watch, people. We'll be back. You guys see the calendar. We got meetings coming up. We got a lot of stuff coming up. I'll be back on live on YouTube in a little bit. Man, I really appreciate the emails and people who had a lot of questions. I'll get to some of these questions in videos coming up. I really wanted to tackle this one because, it's one of the questions I always ask myself in this whole thing is, what are we really? Because, you talk to yourself and you can close your eyes and have a whole conversation. What is that voice? What is that? And you got to know how to separate the two and understand that your subconscious is the God of the Bible. That's what it is. And then you and your conscious state in this body is Jesus, right? Christ consciousness is what it's giving you. And you begin to understand all that and understand that the two must meet. Like, this dualistic you has to come together. And in order for that to happen, a lot of knowledge must be obtained in order to do so, right? But that's what we are, man. We're more than bodies. We're just powerful energy and consciousness. And we will break away from this. We don't understand what's happening here, but we can understand. That sets us apart from the dogs and the cats and all the other animals or what have you. They don't have this consciousness. They can't become self-aware like we can, and with the ability to grow and change and be anew, to be more, right? A dog always going to be a dog. Cat always going to be a cat. You're not going to see a cat acting like a raccoon or acting like a deer, right? Think about that. You can go on all fours right now and start barking. A dog is not going to stand up on two legs and walk to the computer and start playing Minecraft. or Roblox, right? It's not going to do that. It doesn't have the consciousness, right? So you got to begin to understand what all this is and what that consciousness really is, and the intelligence that you have to be able to do something that you have to do. And that's get this knowledge, right? So yeah, a lot more to get into, but thanks for taking the time to watch. I appreciate you guys. See you next video. Make sure you guys, all links are in the descriptions. I know you guys asked about, it's $18 a month to join. That's it. $18 a month. Link is in the description. So much coming up. Don't forget, November is coming up for all my people who already reserved for the Egypt trip. Other people need to still reserve. You still got more time to do that. So make sure you guys reserve. Links is in the description. And we got a lot coming up. I'll see you guys next video. Peace.